Hello, Charles.
Hi, Ken, how are you?
I'm okay. Wow.
Wonderful.
Finally.
Right.
We made
Right.
it.
Right. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Wow.
Thanks for your
How's
patience now.
everyone? Family? Christmas?
Good. 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 Took some time to rest.
Mm.
Resting is a luxury for me.
And your uncle?
He's doing better. He's
Very
doing
good.
better.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
You
Now I
know,
know that I don't think we really need two kidneys to survive.
no, actually, I have an auntie in Miami whose twin sister lives right there in Calgary.
Really?
Okay.
You mentioned that, yeah.
Yeah. She's been a kidney patient for over 20 years.
Okay.
Okay. She's alive and well.
20 years.
And
Wow.
I have my mentor in London. He's
Mm-hmm.
also a kidney transplant patient. He's alive, you know.
Alive. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we only need one kidney to live.
Clearly.
Yeah. We're lucky that God gave us two.
Yeah, exactly. just that extra, just in case.
Yeah. Oh man, I see all the things you have been doing. I know you were trying to recruit some people, and I saw your post about 20 people you recruited.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I'll be on the recruitment hunt.
Yeah.
For some while.
That's what an entrepreneur does. You know, when the business is growing, you need to bring on some heavy hitters to help
right.
you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So, Charles, let's start. Please introduce yourself to my audience and tell them what you do.
Wonderful. Well, first of all, thank you for the platform. I truly appreciate it. I always applaud people like you who give people like us a platform to tell our stories, because you have no idea who's listening and who's paying attention, whose life is changing because of one line or one story or one reference. You just don't know the impact that you're creating. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Charles Osuji is my name, lawyer, born and raised in Nigeria, came to Canada in 2011. Got my license to practice 3 years afterwards.
Okay.
Then got my foot in Osuji and Smith, formerly Smith Law Office at the time. And eventually bought into the partnership and took over did something crazy by buying a firm that was older than myself.
It's crazy. We're going to talk about that. It's crazy.
Yeah. It didn't make any sense at the time. But I had good people that could see the future, that supported that idea. And I took the jump, and here I am.
Good. So tell us a little bit about your firm. What kind of a practice you have, what kind of clientele you're looking to have, Yeah.
Absolutely. We are a general service law firm.
Okay.
We do everything. The goal has been to have lawyers who specialize in different practice areas.
Yeah.
So that Osuji & Smith is a one-stop shop. You come in with any issues that you have, and you have someone that will take care of you. We practice in employment law, contract, business, corporate, personal injury, real estate.
Okay.
The one area, and immigration. The one area that we're looking to develop is criminal law. I just took on a lawyer who is moving from Ontario to join us to build our criminal law practice. So at the end of the day, this is just going to be a one-stop shop for all practice areas.
So you want, once someone steps in to your office, you don't want them to go anywhere.
They're not going anywhere, no.
When it comes to law practice. Wow.
Yes.
All right.
We should be able to have someone that will take care of them.
Yeah. So
that is the idea. That's the intention.
Okay. and tell us, how is it going? I know I mentioned earlier, you just recruited some heavy hitters to join your practice. So how is the whole thing going?
It's going very well. I focused at the very beginning on building a platform.
Yeah.
Building a system, building a structure. Now the plan is to create an environment that does not require my presence for success.
Good. That's what a good entrepreneur does.
Exactly.
Very good.
You don't have a business if the business does not survive. If
requires you all the time. Yes. Yes.
So that is where we are in our growth.
Okay.
We are at the point where is Charles in the office? No, okay. I hope he's doing okay. Things are still going.
Yeah.
So because of that, I now focus on bringing on board people that are established.
Yeah.
Not just in law, but in life.
Okay.
People that are grounded. People that see the vision of what we're building.
Good.
They don't need a lot of oversight. They don't need a lot of hand holding. They are able to hit the ground running. They're mature. They're experienced. They've seen things. They know exactly what they're looking for. That was the focus of my hunt.
Okay.
And I've been able to get a lot of good people and people that also share some of my value system.
Very good.
I'm an internationally trained lawyer, and it is my life goal to advocate for international talent.
Okay.
Especially in a country like Canada, where there's bias for local talent. I want to challenge that. I want to disrupt that mindset. That international trained talent coming to the country with a lot to give, a lot of value to give.
Very good. Very good.
You see what's happening in the health space.
Yeah.
There are not so many lawyers, but there's so many lawyers coming into the country. There's just no clear pathway of integration for them because of that bias for local talent. Right? Yeah. So in the law space, I am challenging that. I'm letting the world know that I didn't get here because of the color of my skin. I got here despite the color of my skin.
Okay.
And I'm able to bring in value and help people, focus on excellence, help people, and also bring people like me to help me grow the practice. So that was the mindset behind the recent recruitment.
Okay. Okay. So let's dial back a little bit. See, because your story, like we mentioned, is unique, and it's something that the external talents, the people you are trying to entice, to tell them that they can do exactly what you have done. Okay, let's give them something to think about. Okay, you are a celebrated lawyer, an entrepreneur. Okay, you're young, an immigrant, someone who was trained outside Canada.
Right.
Okay. And your story, take us back and tell my audience how you got to where you are today.
Good question. Sometimes I ask myself that question. Sometimes I ask myself, what am I doing here? How did I get here? Oh man, Kenny is a mixture of so many things. But I will summarize. The story is all about preparation, meeting opportunity. That's just what it's all about. Opportunities come to us at different times of our lives. But if you're not prepared, A, you don't see it.
Yeah.
B, you don't appreciate it. C, you miss it. Because you're not prepared.
Yeah. Or
sometimes D, you secure the opportunity, but because of lack of preparation, you're not able to sustain it. Right? I mean, there's so many lawyers looking to sell their practices. There's so many so many people like me, right? I came in as a student, as many people know, back in 2013, and that time I just wanted to put my head, you know, on the desk and read and get ready for my license. And I became a lawyer the year after. The idea of running a practice or owning a firm or owning a business never crossed my mind. I never saw myself as an entrepreneur growing up. So many entrepreneurs would have their journeys going back to when they were little kids, right?
Yeah.
None of that.
Really?
I never sold anything. I never ran any business. I was just a bookworm back in school. I was just reading. I thought I was going to be in academics. Then when the opportunity came for the firm, Mr. Smith was looking to sell his firm. I wasn't interested at all. In fact, he was having conversations with other people. I remember a potential buyer connected with me over dinner. He told me that he had heard good things about me, my work ethics, and he was looking to keep me on. I was like, thank you, you're going to keep me on. You know, I was happy. So I tell you that story, okay, because just to highlight the fact that it never crossed my mind to take advantage of that opportunity. Some people would think this was all I had in mind when I came in. No, it never crossed my mind. Then I heard that the conversation with these prospective buyers didn't go well. And then Mr. Smith all of a sudden said, Charles, are you interested? I was like, what are you talking about? And I told him flat out, no, I was not interested. Mind you, at that time, I was only 2 years.
Yeah.
Or under 2 years post-call. You know, I was like 28 to 29. I had only spent a few years in the country. I didn't have any network of people. You know, then the following week or so, he came back and said, are you sure you're not interested? I said, I'm not interested. Then at that point, I was like, okay, can I just take this to some of my support group, my mentors? You know, I took it to one of my mentors, Bruce, took it to my brother. And I was shocked how in consensus said, go for it. I was actually expecting them to validate my reservation by saying, of course not. You're still young in practice, you need to learn and all that. But they supported the idea right away. And that got me thinking, maybe there's something here. These are people that I respect. Maybe there's something here. I went back to Jim and I said, okay, let's give this a try, but let's not rush into it. So we gave it like a year. It was a year plan. In that 1 year, I was able to start making some changes just to make me feel more comfortable with the idea. I started making changes to the practice, cleaned up the website, cleaned up some process, and paying more attention on the business side of things. And after a year, I took the jump. Wow. And here I am, one of the best decisions I ever made. Wow. Yeah. And at that time, I didn't have people that had done it in my circle that I could say, okay, you took over a firm from this older person. How did you do it? Give me a template. That was done.
Yeah. You see, your story resembles a little bit the story of one of my mentors, Tony Elumelu.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tony.
When he got Standard Bank, is it what? Standard something? Standard Trust. Yes.
Trust.
Yeah. He was a junior banker, you know, but he took it. Okay. See, and a good friend of his who was supposed to work with him, but didn't. You see, that's the biggest mistake he made. Okay, he's an uncle of mine. Okay, and I told him about 12 years ago when the discussion came up. I told him, just because he was a junior banker and you were a more senior banker. See, being a CEO doesn't mean you need to know everything, but it means you have the ability to coordinate and bring all the big hitters together. And that's what Tony did. Okay. He knew where his strong suits are, and he knew what he didn't know. And he brought the people who could handle all the things. You see, that's the job of the CEO, and he did it fantastically well. And that's why today, if you want to mention the 10 biggest bankers in Nigerian history, he will be one of them.
Right.
You know? And I'm happy when I heard your story. Especially, I think I saw that you were an intern.
Yes.
That firm. I mean, hey, coming to a firm as an intern and ending up within a few years as the owner is a story worth relating.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Especially as an immigrant. Okay, so your story is one that should entice a lot of people. Say, hey, Charles did it. That means I can do it. You know, and yeah, you know, it's a good story. It's a good story.
Yeah. It is. Yeah, that, you know, and I realized that it's not just about me anymore. It's about challenging some limits.
Yeah.
You know, many people come here as lawyers and they end up small. They end up in a small firm or owning their practice, one person practice or two people practice.
Yeah.
We could actually do more.
Yeah.
You know, my goal is to make Osuji Smith a national firm. It's a national firm. I just had breakfast with one of my mentors this morning, and we mapped out a plan on how to get there. It is possible.
Yeah, it is possible.
Yeah.
And again, I want to take it back because I believe that you would not have been able to do this, even though you were not thinking about being an owner. Okay. But the mentality that drove you, and like you said, you talked to your mentor and your brother, and they told you, hey, go for it. Okay. Now, you have, in this short space of time, we talked about mentorship. Okay. Right. That means you are the kind of person who go back to talk to someone you trust.
Of course. Okay.
So from your school days, from your family background, okay, how have that influenced the way you do things?
So I was born into a family of 10, including my parents. I'm the 7th out of 8.
Wow.
Yes.
So you had so many people to
so many people. So the idea of looking up to someone started from when I was in the cradle, right? By the time I was born, my oldest brother was almost done with university.
Wow.
So you can imagine being a child and your brother was already a star, just graduate and working on earning income. And there were so many of them, you know, ahead of me. My immediate older sister is older than I with more than 10 years. So I grew up in an adult family. I had so many role models.
Yeah.
And I am blessed to have siblings that are very, very successful.
Established.
Very established in their fields. And I could sense the level of the establishment growing up. So I had a lot of shoes to fill and lots of role models. I just knew I had to get it right. But beyond that, you know, coming here, I kept understanding the need for mentorship. You know, you cannot go further without a good mentor.
Yeah.
On whose shoulder you can stand on. And one of the first things I did when I came was to surround myself with people that I wanted to be like, people that have gone through the journey and understand the challenges associated with the journey. So I've always had mentors at every stage of my life. And it's also important to be flexible with that relationship. Each stage of your career or your journey requires a different type of direction.
Yeah.
The mentor back in university might not be the best mentor in your first year as a lawyer.
Yeah.
Or may not be the mentor if you take over a firm, or may not be the mentor if you run a practice. Right? So there's different layers of mentorship that people must be conscious of.
Yeah.
And being cognizant of that is important.
It's important. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Wow. You see, being in a different environment, a developed society, a more developed society, and coming from where we come from, see, it's important, because I'm saying this because a lot of people like us coming from Nigeria, for example, come into London, come into Calgary, come into Los Angeles, and they didn't realize that the people that they surround themselves with, okay, from the start, will eventually determine
how far they go. Yeah, it's just that simple.
Okay. See, a lot of people have made the mistake, okay, of coming to London, for example, and going to a part of London that staunched their growth,
right?
Because of the people they surrounded themselves with once they got there. You know, so it's important. Yeah, that's something we need to be cognizant of. Yeah. All right. There is something worth highlighting your story in North America. There's a culture that allows talented individuals from any background to rise to the top as soon as they are ready to take the opportunity. Okay. I want us to talk about that, because in North America, virtually all the tech companies are headed by immigrants.
Right.
Okay. So I'm not just talking about them being family background, foreign family background. I'm talking about themselves being a first generation immigrants.
Right.
Google, okay, even Twitter before even Elon Musk, he's a first generation immigrant.
Right.
Okay. So just count them. All of them are immigrants.
Right.
Now, let's go back home. How many of our big companies that will deliberately hand over to immigrants? But in North America, they are not scared to do that.
Right.
Your former boss wasn't scared to say, "Hey, Charles, why don't you take a look at this?" So there is a mentality in that space. What do you think about it?
I see where you're coming from. You know, talk about racism in North America, but you go back home, it's actually worse. In the Western world, you hear stories of immigrants being elected leaders, stories of immigrants taking over businesses, but you take it back home, that is very rare.
Okay. Very, very rare.
That is very, very rare. So I see the perspective that you're, but it's a difficult question to tackle because
it is. I know it is.
It's a difficult question to tackle because there's different dynamics playing out, right?
Yeah.
For instance, in Canada, over 85% of the population are immigrants.
Yeah. Okay.
Either first generation or second generation or third generation.
Yeah.
You know, the only people that can really claim heritage to the land would be the First Nations, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They own this place. They were here before all of us. So in that context, the idea of immigration would be different from the idea of immigration back home.
Okay.
Right. So in the context here, it is not an abnormality for an immigrant to be an elected leader. It's not an abnormality for an immigrant to take over an established business for a country like in Canada, because it's a country of immigrants.
Yeah.
Right? It's a country of immigrants. But there's still a lesson to learn. Regardless of the divergence of the dynamics, there's still a lesson to be learned. And that lesson is we should move past making decisions based on how people look.
Okay.
Based on what people sound like.
Okay. There's a culture.
Based on
the language.
Or heritage and stuff like that. Yeah. We should be past that.
Yeah.
Right? We should be past that. We should be focusing on talent, on skill set, on drive, on grit. Some of those soft skills that don't know color, don't know talent, don't know heritage, don't know language or whatever it is. This talent cut across, irrespective of where people come from. Yes. I think it's time we started focusing on those things that actually matter.
Yep.
And this is the story that I try to tell with Osuji and Smith, even the name itself. And I could have gone with Charles Osuji.
Yeah.
Practice
to look more Canadian.
More Canadian. I could have gone Charles and Smith. I could have gone Charles and Smith, or even Charles Lawyers or Charles and Associates. But there's a story to be told that regardless of my African name, we're still succeeded.
Yeah.
Because the success should transcend my heritage. The success should transcend what I look like, what I sound like, where I come from.
Yeah.
Success should be based on what I bring to the table, the soft skills, the humanity that I bring to the table, the focus on excellence and things like that. I think that is where we should be moving towards, instead of making decisions based on things that don't matter.
Well, see why I brought this up, because most of 90% of my listeners are Africans, okay? And I want us to look at these things because it's a big deal, okay, back home. Okay? We always talk about where someone comes from.
Right.
Now, I'm happy to tell people where I come from, because I'm proud of where I come from, okay? Even here, I talk about my grandparents, my great-grandparents to my daughters, because unfortunately, they were very young when they came here. So, and my grandparents are dead now, so they they never really saw them. So I talk about them a lot.
Right.
Now, in our communities back home, everything we talk a lot about where someone comes from in terms of should we give him this thing or not. And it's one of the things that are holding us back, because we equate the ability of somebody to do something to
the
their
heritage
tribe. It's just wrong.
It's wrong, yeah.
You know, and until we get our act together in this area, we will continue suffering.
Right.
So I'm appealing to all our people, just focus on what is necessary to get the job done.
Right. I mean, if Mr. Smith cared about my heritage, we wouldn't be here.
Exactly. You wouldn't be here.
He is the happiest retired man ever.
You see, you know,
he looked beyond all of those artificial factors and focused on, is this person driven enough? Is this person able to cater to the client? Does he have the heart to look after our client? And those are the things that really matter. Yeah.
Very well. So I believe that Africa can be developed in the next 30 years. And I say this, and in fact, that's the drive that made me start Think Big for Africa. Okay. And then I subsequently started this podcast because I want to entice young Africans to think that way, that in 30 years, Africa can be developed. Okay. Now, to achieve that, Africa need a lot of its peoples across the world, people like you and me. Okay. So what do you think about that?
Well, good question. Being there for Africa doesn't necessarily having to own or run a business from Africa.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
I think I represent my heritage wherever I am.
Yeah, okay.
Especially in the time and age where people like both of us, we have a lot of bad rap out there, right? There's a lot of negative narratives about what we bring to the table and who we are, our integrity, our value system. So any African doing well anywhere in the world is a bonus for Africa.
Yes.
The fact that I'm running a successful firm means that I know what I'm doing, and the success has not been impacted by my heritage.
Yeah.
Unlike the narrative out there. So making sure that I'm a person of integrity, making sure that my business is in compliance with local
laws
and international expectations, making sure that my employees are paid, making sure that I run a toxic-free work environment, making sure that as I grow the firm, I'm also giving people that look like me an opportunity to get ahead, give them a leg up on, in terms of access.
Yeah.
That is me representing Africa.
Okay.
I started a program called the Foot in the Door Initiative.
Very good.
Which is a program that allows internationally trained lawyers to come into the firm the moment they land and gain some Canadian law experience right off the bat.
Very good.
I have someone that came in a week afterwards. He got in. As I'm talking to you now, a candidate is being interviewed downstairs in the boardroom.
Wow.
She came into the country a few weeks ago.
Wow.
These are the opportunities I never had when I came to this country. I didn't have access to. I could only drive by a law office, and that's it. I didn't know anyone that could get my foot in the door. And the only thing I ended up doing was factory work, labor work.
Ooh.
I'm not saying that it's a terrible job,
No,
but
of course not.
I wish I had started my journey earlier on if I had the access. Now I'm changing that around, making sure that people that come around within a week or two, they get into the system, they have a place in the firm. We have about 15 workspaces for them.
Wow.
And we're looking at partnering with other law firms across the country. They come in, they gain that experience right off the, especially professionals.
Yeah. I mean, in your profession, there's so many things they can start with. Yeah.
Yes.
They don't need to go to court. There are so many paperwork.
There's so many things they can do. And most importantly, they have access to cultural education. How the workplace works in Canada.
Yeah.
Completely different from where they're coming from. Completely different. Having that education right off the bat, having the confidence that someone sees them as a lawyer. It took me about 2.5 years for me to meet my first mentor who saw me as a lawyer. Before then, I would tell someone in the warehouse that I'm a lawyer. They said, Charles, get out of here. What are you talking about? It's so important to be seen as a professional, especially when you've left your comfort zone, you've left your familiar territory to a different country. You are suffering from self-doubt, imposter syndrome, self-esteem, and you're questioning your decision to leave your comfort zone to this unknown place. And all of a sudden, some lawyer tells you, you're welcome. The door is open. We have a place for you. Start work. Start getting some experience. So that is what the FIDI, the Foot in the Door Initiative, is doing.
That's fantastic.
And the reason why I brought that up is, I'm just letting you know that Africa does not only succeed when Africans work from Africa. Africa also succeeds if Africans, wherever they are in the world, are doing well and they are opening doors for other Africans.
What you're doing, that Foot in the Door initiative is very, very vital. Okay, it's very, very vital. Right. Like you said, you didn't have that opportunity, and you are creating it for others.
Yes.
Who come? That's an initiative worth applauding. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wow. Charles. See, I think about Africa a lot. And because we have a lot of challenges, I also know having so many challenges means there are a lot of opportunities. Okay. Now, many people may not see that. Okay. But I do see it. But it means that we need a lot of people who need to stand up to tackle those challenges and bring out the opportunities. Okay. So what are your concerns? What challenges do you think are the biggest we need to face?
Back home?
Yeah, back home.
Support.
What does that mean?
And support could come from different sources. Definitely from the government, from the leaders. I can't imagine how far I would have gone if I was running a firm in Nigeria. I don't know. My only experience practicing in Nigeria was doing my youth service, which just a stint for 6 months before I left. But I don't know if I would have gone this far very quickly if I was back home. When I took over the firm, I had a lot of support. I had a lot of resources, loans. Even with this FIDI program, there are so many grants out there that we are looking to tap into, provincial and federal grants that will support this initiative. There is an enabling environment here to succeed.
Okay.
You have power, you have access to mentors, there's some things I don't have to deal with. I don't have to show up at work and there's no light, there's no electricity. That is huge because it means that the basics have been taken care of. You just focus on what you need to do to get ahead. So infrastructures need to be in place. Entrepreneurs need to be supported because entrepreneurship is the backbone of the success of any country, to be very honest. We are the people that create opportunities. I have 30 employees, and these employees have dependents, some are in school, some back home, wherever they are, So entrepreneurs create opportunities and they need to be supported. So there is infrastructure, there is need for stability in terms of policies. If policies change every week, every month, because of the government in power, that causes a lot of instability. And there's also need to focus a little bit on what it takes to run a business in our institutions. Institutions back home, they just focus on the academics, passing your grades,
exams,
and passing exams. There's nothing on, okay, you're a lawyer, but there's also a business of law. Because right now I do more of the business.
That's the entrepreneur. That's it.
I do more of the business than I do the
law. That's for your partners to
exactly. So that mindset needs to be guided and nurtured as early as possible. I could have found or discovered the entrepreneur in me if there was something back in law school that spoke to entrepreneurship. I was like, okay, I think I could connect to that. I could relate to that. So entrepreneurship has to be taken more seriously than it is right now and integrated in our education system so that people would have early access as to what that entails.
Interestingly, I'm going to talk to a professor of entrepreneurship tomorrow.
Oh,
and this is why I'm going to talk to her, because in my mind, entrepreneurship for decades has been what we learn by doing.
Okay?
Not at school.
Right.
Okay, so these are part of the questions I will ask her about to enlighten my audience about what her role as an entrepreneur professor. I understand what you mean. Yes, if there has been one or two courses in your school, in your law classes, giving you one or two courses to tell you, hey, yes, we're lawyers, but we can't feed if we don't make money.
Exactly. We're also in the business of sales. We're selling our expertise at any given time. And it's so funny, that I've hired some lawyers in the past that did not understand the landscape of success for a law firm. In their head, they just show up at work and there's work waiting for them. But they've never really asked themselves, how did we even get this work in the first place? How were we able to convince a client to pay us $400 an hour, $500 an hour? Because you have to sell yourself to the client, you have to sell your product, you have to you have to infuse confidence
Yeah.
In the client. So back in law school, there wasn't anything like client management or practice management or marketing, how to bring in work, how to present yourself in the client meeting and stuff like that. These were the things, like you said, to your point, these are the things that I learned in practice.
Yeah.
And I was able to learn them because I was paying attention. Many people don't get ahead because it was just so much, it's just too much to handle at the time.
One of my uncles is a senior professor in a law faculty in one of our universities. By the way, what universities did you attend in Nigeria?
Imo State University.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's a professor in University of Benin. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
See what's just mentioned. Okay, I would talk to him about that, because we need to start doing these things. These are some of the things we need to do, because people cannot just go to school, law, engineering, and everybody comes out and all they want is for someone else to hire them.
Right.
Okay. Nobody comes out from school thinking about, I'm going to start this. And we actually need a lot of our young people to come out of school with the intention, with the mindset to start something.
Right.
So we need that entrepreneurial development in school. In fact, for almost every course.
Yes.
There should be one or two courses that tells you, hey, you are doing biochemistry. What kind of business can you start?
You can create, yeah.
With that, yeah.
And how do you manage your staff? How do you hire? How do you fire?
Yeah.
What are you looking for in recruitment? How do you grow your practice? What practice? There's just so much gaps.
Yeah.
On entrepreneurship.
So
much gaps.
So if we want people to go to school, then we need to add some modules of entrepreneurship in their studies. Yeah, right. That's interesting. That's interesting.
Right.
What would be your advice to young Africans about how they can contribute their little quota, okay, to their communities?
Right. The moment you begin to experience some success, the very first thing you do is replicate that success in others. To me, that is the hallmark of success. I put up something on LinkedIn some time ago that at the end of this journey, your success is assessed or judged by the number of doors
you opened.
Ooh. That's it.
Open doors.
That's it. It's not by the number of properties you owned or the amount of money in your bank account. It's how many people did you help? And do you know what? The moment you have that mindset of giving back and creating opportunities for others, my goodness, your own success
triple
doubles and in multiple folds. It's just what it is. Because what you've done is you've created a pipeline of successful people.
Yeah.
And those people also creating a pipeline of successful people. It is enriching, gratifying, it's fulfilling.
Yeah.
And it opens doors. That is what I've been doing in the last few years, trying my best to make sure that at the end of my career, people don't talk about the branches I opened, and people talk about how they were able to get called to the bar, get ahead because of me.
Yeah.
So for young Africans listening, if you have experienced some success, make sure that you're a reason why another person has succeeded as well. You need to have that mindset of replicating your success with others, keeping the door open for others. It just pays multiple folds.
That's powerful. Thank you. Now, for my last question. Like I said earlier.
You can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Like I said earlier, I believe Africa can be a developed continent in 30 years. That's my belief. So I want you to envision the kind of Africa you want to see in 30 years.
I want a continent that retains its talent. There's a problem with talent retention right now in Africa.
Yeah.
Everybody in my law school class wants to come to Canada.
Woo!
And law is not the only victim.
Yeah.
Medicine, IT, engineers, the moment they have some experience and they qualify for whatever immigration category, UK, Canada, US, they're gone.
Yeah.
We might not feel the impact of that.
No, we are feeling it.
We are feeling it,
but
it's going to be worse.
That's why we are where we are.
Yeah.
And it has been going on since the 80s.
Yes. It's insane. These are people that would build Africa. These are people that are the future leaders of tomorrow. So I want an Africa where A, talent is retained. 2, if talent has migrated, that talent is repatriated back to Africa.
Yep.
That is the Africa I want to see in 30 years. An Africa where I ask myself, what the heck am I doing here? I need the national firm in Nigeria. I need to go back and replicate what I'm doing because I trust the leaders, I trust the government, there's stability in policies, there's infrastructure, there is security. The basics are there, and I don't need to worry about the basics. Rather, I worry about how to create opportunities for others because the government that I trust is there to ensure that I succeed. That is the Africa that I wish to see in 30 years.
Yeah. And you have mentioned something. You see, the number one job of government is security. Okay. Security, people's lives and their properties. Okay. See, once we have that, then virtually everything else can be done by the people. Okay. If I'm sure that my life is secure, okay. If I'm sure that my property is secure, that the next guy cannot just come and take my property, okay, the government will step in. If I complain, the government will step in, and through the process, they will get giving back my property. And I'm sure that's going to happen. Hey, I don't have anything to worry about. Yeah. And that's actually the number one role of government. Charles, it has been a wonderful session with you.
Likewise.
Yeah. And I'm so happy to see your success, and you are opening doors for others, okay, to be just like you. And that's a fantastic thing you're doing.
Thank you.
So thank you very much for being a great guest of the Think Big for Africa podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for the platform. Like I said, big ups for what you're doing. You're creating awareness. Again, this is Africa succeeding.
Yeah.
You don't have to be in Africa for Africa to succeed. Many of your audience might find inspiration here and there from these stories.
Yeah.
And people would make decisions that would benefit them because of one or two things they've heard others say on your show. So thank you for all you do.
All right. Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Yeah.